This stream is sponsored by Final One Standing at William Hill. Now, people, I'm through to game week 4 and I'm still jousting and juggling between picking Chelsea, Newcastle or Liverpool. They all have favourable fixtures with different contexts that I'll get into later. I'm not confirming it just yet, but I only have up until Saturday, 12:30 p.m. before Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest to confirm that pick, and that applies to you too. So stay locked in, and that's your reminder. Now, if you are through in that jackpot and you want to play this new game alongside it, or you're out of the 500k in the previous game weeks, you can join this new jackpot, which is 200k. It's the same rules that are applying. You pick your team and it wins, you're through. If you lose or draw, you are out, right? It's 18 and over, UK and Ireland only. Gamble aware, gamble responsibly. And of course, terms and conditions apply. The link for full terms to read are in the description. So I'm still finalizing my pick, and now I'm picking for both. I'm going to go Liverpool, I think, against Burnley for both picks. Is that good strategy? Should you be separating your picks between them? Maybe so. But I just feel like Chelsea, with all the South American players coming back late, I'm not sure who's playing. Is it Caicedo, Joao, Pedro? Are they going to be on the bench? And then, of course, Newcastle, I think Wissa and Gordon are out for different reasons, injury and suspension. So that's my logic. That's my reasoning. If you are making that pick, then the QR code is on screen. The link is in the description to make those picks. Get involved if you want to. And of course, I'll see you on the other side. Big up. Yo, people, welcome to another stream. Apologies, the green screen is still here. No one wants to see this green screen less than I do. But unfortunately, the builder that was meant to come in today and finalize the background, at least take it to 70%, 80%, here we goes, meters. He had a family issue and he couldn't do it. So it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Family comes first, and hopefully all is well with him, and I'll see him whenever we reschedule. But that just means that the green screen is going to be in place for the foreseeable few days. Trust me, I don't want this green screen here, but it is an absolute mess back there. And I would rather you don't see that shit. You know what I'm saying? So we're here regardless. It is what it is, but we will be back to normal very soon, and I can't wait until we are. Sorry, I've been away, international break. It's not like there's been loads going on, to be quite frank. You know, I had some personal matters to kind of attend to myself, so I was out the country for a few days. But listen, like I said, I don't think I really missed anything. We addressed the charges yesterday. We already knew about that, so it's not like it's great because we already in-house we knew about that because we snitched and snaked ourselves out months ago, and it was just waiting for the FA to get back to us on the phone, ring us back and say, yo, we found something, we're going to charge you. Oh, did you? No problem. Yeah, put the phone down, wait for the repercussions. Rivals didn't have a clue. So when they seen the headlines, they were like, oh, this is exciting. Charges. Don't know what for, don't know why, just finding out for the first time, all giddy, all excited, all ready to move mad. Listen, like I said on Big Six, when I had a bit more clarity, because like I said, I got off a flight yesterday morning. I didn't have barely any sleep. I rocked into DR from the airport because, you know, the train strikes and whatnot. So I was having to just go straight to one place to another. I didn't have no energy for that nonsense. No energy for AGT sitting next to me, getting all giddy and excited, hype man, clips, all that. So on Big Six, I said what I needed to say, and I said it in my video. Like I said, come and charge us. Come and charge us. Come and take what you would like to take from us so we can move on and we can carry on doing what we need to do. At the end of the day, it is what it is. So let's move on to the football, because that's really what we want to be talking about. I mean, obviously, we have made a signing, you know, Amiga 3. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to the football club. He'll be joining in 2026. Am I excited? I'm not going to say I'm excited because I don't really know the purpose of this transfer. It's very fair to say that we may be integrating him next season. We may just be signing him at a cut price now whilst we're negotiating with ourselves for market value. I'm sure we're not going to be outpricing or overpricing ourselves for this player. We're going to be getting at market value, so it's not suspicious, so we're not under any more investigations. But that market value could absolutely soar over the season, and because he's not played for Chelsea, there isn't necessarily that emotional attachment. They might find it very easy to just make a profit on him in the same window that he comes officially to Chelsea Football Club. You know, if he has a really good season at League One and he goes and gets, say, let's say 18, 19, 20 goals, who's to say he will be here? He might actually just be sold immediately, just for the profit margin, you know, and because we have Delap, we have Joao Pedro, you know, there's other guys that we have coming from loans and out at other clubs. You know, we got our Kazakhstan striker that I scouted when I was out there having horse meat for dinner. You know, he's playing Champions League football this season. We've got Guy, who's trying to make an impression for himself there, and others as well, you know, in the academy. So I don't know what the purpose of it is. When it's with Strasbourg, it's the books first. You know, you got first and foremost, and then we'll see what happens second. So I'm not really too bothered or gassed. It's 2026. We're in 2025. Let's focus on the here and now. So let's get into it, people. Big up the chat first of all. Let's see what's going on in the chat actually before I even go any further. There's so much going on in the chat. Yeah, we have the 3 strikers. Hey, we had 3 strikers last season. I don't know why when I said 3 strikers, people lost their minds. Christopher Nkunku, out of the manager's very mouth, last season in a press conference, had Nkunku down as a striker. He said we have 2 left wingers, Sancho Mudryk, 2 right wingers, Madueke Neto, 2 10s, Felix and Palmer. Up front, we have Nkunku and Jackson, and he forgot about poor old Guy. That's 3 strikers. So I don't know why now, when the competition gets more difficult this season with better teams in and around us in terms of transfer market moves and then Champions League football, now we're reducing the amount of numerical options we have up front. I don't understand such logic, and neither do the club. So it looks like we were right. You know what I'm saying? It looks like we were right. All right, let's see. What do we start with? Because I don't do previews these days, but this is one big gigantic preview, right? This is a Brentford, Manchester United, Bayern Munich in between, Lincoln City's there, but I've not got them on the thumb because that really should just take care of itself. Let's be real. And then obviously you've got Liverpool and Brighton as well. We got to win. We got to go on a bit of a run. Now, I think there's a lot of opportunity here to kind of demonstrate how serious we are this season. So that's why I'm really looking forward to these fixtures. I think so far, all of the games have been winnable. Unfortunately, against Palace, we didn't get to, get over the line in terms of the 3 points. But we've been in London for this whole, month or so. And we will be in London on Saturday night. It's now time to venture out of London, time to venture out of our comfort zone, maybe our postcodes. Let's go abroad. Let's go and show big Bayern Munich at the Allianz Arena what we're really made of. I'm thinking win when we go out there. Some people say it's deluded. Some people say it's absolutely insane. There are absolutely dangers in that Bayern Munich team. There are people that need to be respected. There's players that are world class, but they're not all world class, They're not all world class. There's definitely weak points. There's definitely players that wouldn't get into our 11. So they're beatable for me, you know what I mean? But let's start with Brentford because manager had his press conference. I watched it. I listened to it, obviously, pretty much run-of-the-mill stuff. The big thing is obviously the South American players obviously coming back late. We should really start there. I don't know how you guys feel, but this is obviously going to be an ongoing recurrence for the next 2 international breaks following this one as well. It's tough. This stream is all about getting us to the next international break. But they're all key players, like in terms of Caicedo, in terms of Joao Pedro. Joao Pedro in particular has to start. He has to start. And really so does Caicedo. If we're talking about this match, trying to win this match, we already know his backup is injured. You could go with an Andre Santos, Enzo pivot, potentially away from home. But I would prefer that we start with our best midfielder and kind of at least try and get to that 60, 70-minute mark and then maybe take him off. We have Bayern Munich next week. This is the big leagues. This is what it's all about. We don't play, all these Mickey Mouse oppositions in last season in midweek on Thursdays. We're now playing serious sides. And now the actual squad is going to be tested. The actual squad is going to be having to be used. And now it's down to the manager. We could talk about transfers all we want. We're going to talk about most likely Garnacho's debut, which will happen tomorrow as well. But it's done now. The transfer window is closed, thankfully. So now it's down to the manager. I think last season, he learned a lot. I think last season he was making really good decisions and then really big bad decisions, like seeing Gusto, for instance, in midfield, even all the way up until the Conference League final when he was costing us in the first half. That kind of stuff I'm not trying to see again. You have got to learn from those moments where you've misprofiled or played players in positions they're just clearly not comfortable in. I don't want to see Gusto in a half space ever again in my life. There's some things he did brilliantly, and the things that he didn't do brilliantly, I don't want to see those things ever again. So it's all about utilizing the squad. I think rotation-wise, he's been pretty, on the most part, pretty fair. Look at the way he's looked after Reece James. And Reece James, I'm a bit disappointed that he played both the England games. I'm not going to lie, especially Thomas Tuchel. Look, he's not a Chelsea manager, so he doesn't really give two shiny shits about us in terms of what we need Reece James for. But even for England, you should probably look after him, manage him, try and separate the minutes out just so you have him for the next international break and the following, and then the World Cup. Let's manage his fitness together. We're not ops. We're not enemies. We are managing his fitness. Can you please manage his fitness? So I don't know where that leaves Reece James in Maresca's thinking. Do we start him against Brentford? Probably not, because you want to play him against Bayern Munich. You definitely want to play him against Bayern Munich against Luis Diaz in the Champions League on Wednesday. So that's already one player you've kind of got to take out of the team. It's difficult. There's a lot of players we got to look after. There's already injuries in the team. Palmer, I think I saw people were talking about training, seeing images of him behind other players. Some sort of microscope was pulled out to see that he was available, fit and healthy. Is he really going to start this game? I highly doubt it. He might be back. Some people in the chat are saying he's back, but is he going to start? I personally wouldn't expect him to start, because you're obviously trying to preserve him for Bayern Munich if he's getting back fit. And obviously Manchester United, you need to start Palmer really ideally in both those games. In Bayern Munich away and Manchester United away, you need your strongest team. You need your strongest 11 back to back. So this game, and I'm not trying to disrespect Brentford. I know our record here is not the strongest. We won here last season, I believe. This is not the same Brentford on paper. They've lost their manager. They've lost their two strikers. They've lost 3-4 strikers over the last few years. They've lost their captain. They've lost their goalkeeper. They've replaced him with the keeper that obviously always comes up against us in the cup finals and does very well for himself. He's a good player, Kelleher. But I'm not trying to risk Palmer, which immediately means I'm putting in Joao Pedro, because there's absolutely no way I'm not having Palmer and Joao Pedro in a starting 11. That just won't exist this season unless it's a Carabao Cup game against Lincoln City. That one of those guys has to play. Mandatory. It's just where you play Joao Pedro. So I want to ask the chat. This is an interactive Dora the Explorer Nickelodeon episode. Are you playing Joao Pedro up front? You don't need to say this in Spanish. Or are you playing him in the 10? Because obviously, wherever you decide to play him means repercussions for the rest of the team. When you go to a team like Brentford, what do you need in the box? What do you need up front? That's the question. Now, Joao Pedro, this is how I feel about Joao Pedro signing for Chelsea. There are some things that, at the moment, I'm getting wrong, and some things that I think I'm not right on, but will potentially be proven right on. I'm not saying he can't play up front, because we clearly can see he can. But I've always said I would like to have the option to play him in the 10 as often as we need to do that. And I don't want us to be restricted in any way, shape or form from playing him in the 10. And there's multiple reasons for that. The first reason is I want to see sometimes Cole Palmer on the right. So that just immediately, instantly moves Cole Palmer to a different position by putting Joao Pedro in the 10. Joao Pedro has shown in the last game how important he is, not just going forward in that 10, and all of his GA so far in the Premier League's come from the 10. Obviously, Palace up front didn't do anything. But defensively, what he brings to that midfield playing in that 10, the physicality, the intelligence, the IQ, the work rate, the box defending. I don't want to lose out on that stuff in some games. So I want to be able to play him in the 10 because he's just such a good player. He's showing such a well-rounded, technically secure, as we already knew, kind of player. You want him involved in the game as much as possible. And when you're playing him up front, he is prone to come into the ball, come in short, link in, getting involved, as a Jackson would, but Jackson obviously does make those runs in behind. But then what you want also is someone that's going to work the back line, which maybe we missed against Palace in hindsight. That is in hindsight. So it's just about having options. What do you want against Brentford? Would you ideally want someone that's working that back line while Joao Pedro is kind of in that 10? Or do you want Joao Pedro up front? This is most likely going to be a low block as well. I'm assuming Brentford are going to play a low block. I've not watched much of Brentford so far this season, but I'm just not expecting them to come out and play into our hands, so to speak, leave space in behind. What do we do with that situation up front? Is this a game where Guiu starts? I mean, that sounds wild to say from where we came from last season, where Gu played like 3 Premier League games. He was not a starter. We're now talking about in a season where we're, and again, I'm not trying to get onto Gu. I'm just laying out the circumstances and the situation. We've gone from a situation where Gu really doesn't sniff starting minutes at Chelsea last season, in a way less pressurized season, in a way less, competitive season in terms of what we're going for, in terms of the managers in his first season, to now, obviously, with Delap being out for 10 to 12 weeks. 10 to 12 weeks. It feels like every time someone speaks on Delap, I hear an extra couple of weeks. I could have swore at the beginning of all this, it started with 7 or 8. It's now become 10, and now I'm talking here in 12. It's never ending. And when it comes to this football club, when someone's out injured, we sometimes we don't hear from them. We don't hear from them again. We actually don't hear from them ever again. So I don't have high hopes for that situation. Obviously, he hasn't gone for surgery. People are taking the positives and whatnot. But when I'm hearing extensions on extensions on extensions, I might get an extension cord out and cable just because it's wrapping around the room, the length of time. It's 12 weeks we're hearing, potentially at most. And where does that take us? I mean, that takes us past, obviously, thankfully, we have 2 international breaks, so those weeks are null and void. But it's a long time to have to potentially use Gu as an important player. And obviously, that means you have to rate him very highly to be confident going into situations and certain matches. Big games. It's Premier League. There is no easy fixture. Brighton at home I've got on this thumbnail. You'd like to think that's a banker, but it should be, right? But I'm not looking at that game thinking it's going to be a walk in the park. It's Brighton at home, There's been problems in the past. They beat us last time twice. They sent us out of a cup. So I'm not looking at anybody and thinking, yeah, rest and rotate or take the piss. There is no game really where you should be taking the piss with the team that you pick. It's just purely managing the players, and we got to do that right. But there isn't any game where I'm like, oh yeah, we could take the piss there, we could take the piss there, and we could take the piss there. No, because every 3 points is important. It's absolutely massive. Obviously, in the Premier League, other teams are playing. You have Liverpool going to Burnley. I expect them to win that game. As I said in final one standing, that's who I'm picking, just purely because it's one more day rest from international break. Probably going to be a strong team. Isak maybe on the bench. Manchester United, City could drop points. You want to gain on these teams. Gain on City. City are starting poorly. Let's go and clear ourselves from them as much as possible, So it's a worry, it's a concern, but this is why you have a squad. And this is why you have to be This is why you can't fake pump the confidence in the squad. Last season, we could get away with fake pumping how much confidence or how much trust or how much quality is in that B team. Not this season. Not this season. Not when you have Champions League football. Whatever you think about the B team, and I'm not calling it the B team this season because it isn't the B team. There's only one team. You know what I mean? It's the main team. It's the main squad on the website, and everybody's going to get used unless you're not registered for certain Champions League squads and whatnot. But boy, you better rate who's in that second side because they're gonna get minutes. They're gonna get high stakes, important minutes in games that are gonna send us stress-wise levels into utopia. So you better rate these guys. And the reason why I say that is because, say for instance, the centre-back situation with Colwell, the meltdown when people were like, damn, Colwell's injured. I'm like, yo, we got loads of centre-backs. We got to trust these guys. We got to trust what we have, Same with the striker situation. As soon as Delap gets injured, we're talking about recalling Jackson and we're moving mad and we're looking left and right. What do we do? No, we have to trust. Whatever we have to trust it. We have to trust it. Now, with the wingers and the Garnacho situation, someone said Garnacho might not be fit. Fair. Now, this is not to do with an opinion on the player. I would start against Brentford, Neto and Esteval personally. I think there's room for there's potential that there's going to be changes. I think out wide, I would stick with those two. I think Esteval, he's young, he's brave, he's looking forward to just being in London. You're seeing all the quotes. He's a kid. You all know when you're 18, you can jump off you know, jump off balconies and you wouldn't even get a strain. You wouldn't even feel it. As you get older, you need looking after. You know what I'm saying? Generally. So Esteval, I think, can play. I think Esteval can play. You know, he's already shown he's physically pretty much up to the task. Yes, of course, he did speak in his quotes about bulking out, or, you know, but he doesn't want to lose his speed. I don't want Esteval to bulk out like Mudryk. I don't want Esteval to turn into, you know, the incredible Brazilian Hulk. I don't need that. I don't want him to be Adama Traore. There's certain things that come with building up too much muscle that take away from other parts of your game. And I think he understands that, his entourage and the people around him understand that. I would like Esteval to start purely because I feel like I need to see something in that 11 that is unpredictable, something in that 11 that Brentford can't prepare for. And they can't possibly prepare for what Esteval has to throw at them because they've never played him before. They don't know this guy, you know, in real time. So I just feel like he on the right, Neto on the left. You can't drop Neto. You can't take Neto out of this team. He's been in great form. I think Garnacho, you're easing him into the system. You're easing him into Chelsea anyway. So you're bringing him off the bench, arguably where he performs best, with impact off the bench, tired legs. Hopefully at that stage he comes on. Maybe we'll win in 2-0. You bring on Garnacho. There's a bit more space. Brentford are coming on to us. Same with Gittins really applies in different ways. And you're just letting them come on, work their ass off on both flanks and go for the kill. The only concern, and I have this, you know, I have this concern out wide, guys. If Esteval proves to be a key player and he proves to be a top 1 or 2 winger in this team in the next few weeks, months, that's brilliant for him and for us because, you know, that means we did get one of the best up-and-coming talents out there in the world. But there's a lopsidedness to this team then out wide that I knew could happen and I worry about because I don't want to see Garnacho on the right, personally. I don't really want to see Gittins on the right. So you really at the moment are starting Neto. So you're kind of lost in this situation where you really have 3 people fighting for the left. And if he does cement himself, if he is that guy, if he is him, he's taken that right spot. And that's before we even try and look at Palmer going back over there, maybe his best position for many of you. It just feels a little bit lopsided. I've not seen Gittins on the right. Maybe Gittins can do something on the right. I've seen Garnacho on the right. I think he's better on the left. So let me know in the chat how you feel about it. But it's an interesting one with the wingers. And that's why you could have made a case for one of these wingers being able to play in the 10 or being able to play both sides more naturally, you know. But let me know. He's not untouchable. Absolutely not. But he can make himself, you know, untouchable if he does a madness. He could have scored a couple of goals already. This is the thing. Esteval could already be, I mean, he got man of the match, I believe, one of the games, but he could already have a few goals on his name. He's getting into great positions. So he's really started very strongly for someone who's, you know, just literally come straight from Brazil at that age. So I'll go with those wingers up front. I don't know, man. Because I wouldn't play Esteval in the 10. I wouldn't play him in the 10. I think, yes, he can play in the 10, but I think if he is in the 10, I'd like him to rotate with that 10 like it is Palmer and they're kind of interchanging and switching. Do I want him as the out-and-out 10 right now? With Enzo probably needing to play in the pivot? Probably not. I think it makes us a bit lightweight or a little bit susceptible in the midfield defensively. Especially when Enzo's not at the top of his game. Let's be real. He's not playing at the top of his level right now. So you don't want... And that's partly my reasoning for Joao Pedro in the 10, because it helps Enzo. You don't want Esteval in there as well. So what do we do with the situation up front? Do we go Gu? I'm going to put up a poll. I want to know. What do we do? Who starts? So what I'll do is I'll probably go... It won't be Palmer. I'm going to take Palmer out of this equation for now because we need to look after him. He's only just come back. Played a lot of football. I'm going to go Mark Gu. And I guess the other option is Boyanetti. You know, yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm going to put him in because it's one or the other. Unless I'm forgetting someone, it's one or the other. You're either playing Boyanetti in the 10 or you're playing Gu up front. And Joao Pedro just fills in the gaps. Unless, and Maresca did allude to this in his presser, you go with Santos, Enzo, Caicedo as a midfield flat 3, which I know a lot of you are interested in doing. And then you go Joao Pedro up front. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen that. We had issues before with playing Lavia, Caicedo, and Enzo together. Made the midfield a little flat. Obviously, Enzo can box crash, and that helps. He can get goals. That's what's needed. Andre Santos can do the same. But in between the lines, if Brentford go deep, do we want Enzo and Santos, or, you know, in between the lines? Is that really, is that needed? Is that what's going to help us break down Brentford? I'm not so sure. So I wouldn't mind that in a big game where you don't need to break a defense down. Maybe in a big game, you bring all three midfielders in, you try to get a bit of control. If you don't have that control, you have enough numbers in the midfield to kind of block the passing lanes and be really compact and well organized. But in a game where you need to break a team down, do I want to go with all three of them? I'm not sure. Especially when Enzo's passing is not really is not really that good right now. His passing's been really poor. But let me know which one. It's an interesting one. I mean, both of them would be making their first start of the season. Gu has played some minutes for Sunderland. So there's maybe an argument there that maybe he's more match fit, more match ready. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't really have a preference, if I'll be real, because I can see the logic for Joao Pedro playing in the 10, like I said, for physical reasons, defensively, and even going forward because he's box crashing. And like I said on All You Can Eat Chelsea, I would like to have two options aerially in the box. So if you have Gu up front and you have Joao Pedro, when those crosses coming from Pedro Neto, all those cutbacks, you have two guys in the box that are attacking the ball, and you need that. I think it's you know, you need the options in there. You need the chaos. It gives you a better opportunity of you know, shooting on the rebound if the keeper saves the first shot, or winning the aerial duel, etc. So, but then against a low block, maybe you want more guile, more flair, more, you know. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I'm very interested to see how the poll goes. Baba Sob says, welcome to the membership, brother. Welcome. Appreciate you. Good to have you. Thank you so much. I did a video last Sunday. I'll be doing another one this Sunday. I'll probably just keep doing them every Sunday, just so I get in some sort of routine. I know you're saying buy Bonetti stocks, but he's not here. He's not here permanently. I mean, listen. Like I said, I'm intrigued to see how he does. It's a big step up from Leicester on loan last year, but politically, he's not going to get a lot of minutes. I would even potentially bring that into this conversation here as to why he might not start, is because politically we don't have an obligation, we don't have an option. So why would he play a lot of minutes? Unless he's going to take the team from here all the way up to there, and it's just not even a debate that he must play. Politically, why would you be playing and developing and giving minutes to someone that you're not keeping because of Kendry Pies, because of Quenda, because of other players that are coming back from loan? So, and we know this because we literally saw Andre Santos go to Forest and not play. And we know that Andre Santos can play for Nottingham Forest because now he's in the Brazil squad. And I don't think there's been a drastic improvement between the time at Strasbourg and what he was at Forest, to be honest. I really don't. I think it's just game time and it's just minutes. But let's see. Let's see. So that's the attack for Brentford. And that is the attack conversation until Palmer gets back. When Palmer gets back, it kind of starts to sort itself out because you're gonna play Palmer, you're gonna play Joao Pedro, and that's 2 slots gone, you know. But until Palmer's back, and when I mean back, I mean ready to start and be trusted physically and fitness-wise, that conversation is going to be there. So I'm intrigued. I'm very interested to see what happens against Brentford. Defensively, he's going to play Cucurella, obviously. He's going to probably play Gusto. I don't think he'll start Acheampong, to be honest. I don't think he will. And he'll probably play... I don't know where Lavia is at the moment, to be honest. Good question. Is Lavia okay? Is he working his way back? Same with Fofana. These guys are kind of lost in the matrix to me. You know, I hope they're doing well. I hope they're good. I can't tell you where they are right now in terms of availability. I couldn't. Just because they're training or they're, you know, on grass, it doesn't mean that they're available. So The reason why not James is because I just feel like James will be saved for Bayern and Manchester United back to back. I think you need him for those games. So it will be Gusto, I think. And Gusto obviously gets forward more than James these days because they're protecting him from the injury, whereas Gusto will go really far forward, and that might just make the fifth man in the attack, overlapping on Esteval. And then you'll have Cucurella, Tosin and Chalobah as your other defenders. I don't think Badiashile will start. I don't see why they would. I don't even know if he's even fit because he wasn't fit at the start of the season. So I think the rest of the team picks itself. Sanchez will be in goal. So I think the rest of the team picks itself. But it's interesting to see what we're going to do with the attack. Very interesting to see how we're going to structure that. Lightning McQueen. New contract. Yeah. I mean, let's see the kid. This is Cobham's third and final time at left wing. Callum Hudson-Odoi, it's a shame, but the injury really did change the trajectory of his career at Chelsea. We all remember when he broke through that debut against Arsenal in a friendly, absolutely ripped Hector Bellerin on that side. That's when I first seen him in Chelsea first team and said, yeah, this 17-year-old is going to the top. He was integrated, in my opinion, the right way by Maurizio Sarri. Some people say he should have played more than Pedro, more than Willian, etc. I think he was integrated very well, considering he was 17 years of age. And Chelsea's a big club, going for big honours and whatnot, and just to keep him level-headed, keep him grounded, keep him working hard. And I think he got good minutes with Loftus-Cheek in that season. It was a great year. Obviously lost the cup final to Man City, is what it is, but it was a great year. I enjoyed. I mean, some people hated that year for the football and whatnot, but seeing those two break through in particular, I really did enjoy. There's a bomber. I'm going to talk about said bomber. I'm going to read it on Twitter. Yeah, I seen. But then the injury happens. Same with Loftus-Cheek in America. He also gets injured, completely changes the trajectory of his Chelsea career. He's now 29 at AC Milan and obviously was playing in that England squad. And then comes Rio. And Rio never really even plays here because, of course, he was signed by Liverpool. Same way in some ways as Musiala when he went to Bayern. Maybe didn't see a pathway. Obviously, Musiala moved for family reasons back to Germany. Whatever it is, we never really saw him. But we can see quite clearly, he's talented. Shame. It's a big shame that he is. Really wish he wasn't. Not trying to sound like a hater, but, I really wish he wasn't that good. But he looks really good. He looks talented. So this is our third chance with Lightning McQueen. And I just hope that we develop him well. We send him on the right loan if it comes to that, or we integrate him into this first team when necessary, when needed, in the right way. Maybe if Maresca's aware, and I think he is very aware of his talent, who's to say against Lincoln City he can't at least be on the bench? You've probably, against Lincoln City, you're going to play Gittins or Garnacho because one of them are going to need to prove a point against the other. They're not going to start, well, they might, but, I don't see consistent starts for Gittins at the moment. He's still embedding himself into everything. So he needs to prove his point. So he needs to stat pad or do a madness, or one of them need to do something against Lincoln. I really don't mind who plays against Lincoln out of the two of them because I think either or all of them need to prove themselves for different reasons. So McQueen won't play. But could he be on the bench and get 10, 15, 20 minutes? I would love that. And I think we deserve it. There's a history at left wing with Cobham, and we need to be on the right side of history. So that's with that. Let me see what CFC Daily's tweeted because it seems... I don't know if it's a bomber. It's a bomber! To a degree. I like all the Academy guys, but Reggie is the one I like more than the rest. I really like Reggie. What? Yo! Oh, I was not expecting that. What? Now, first of all, Reggie Walsh, when he first played, he was brilliant. He was 15 and he was fantastic. You see, we don't really gas our guys as much as the other clubs. You don't really hear us talk about our guys as much as you'll hear about Arsenal talking about Wanyeri and now Dalman, Liverpool fans talking about Rio. That's fine. I don't really care to speak on our guys too much because they'll speak for themselves. Reggie Walsh, when he came into that team, he looked better than Amugu. He looked better than Amugu. He did. Now, Amugu is now at Strasbourg. And good luck to him. But I called that transfer from the get-go. And I think it was one of you in this chat, and I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Iceman or one of you telling me, oh, you don't really watch him enough. You don't watch him enough. He's going to be a big name for Chelsea. You just haven't watched him. Oh, rah, 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 rah. You see, me, I have a whiff. I have a second sense for this shit. I can smell the bollocks. Some of you still can't. That's fine. Not everybody's senses are on the same level. But me, my sense of smell is right up there with the best of them. I'm blind. I'm legally blind. So I can't be out here deaf and also can't smell. I can smell it. I can smell BS. When I smell it, I call it out for what it is. That brother will never play for Chelsea. I said it. And he did. And then he was turning over possession and looking very out of sorts in Conference League football. Reggie Walsh comes in, technically on point. On point. And Maresca loves him and is infatuated with him. I have no problem with that. Kid looks really talented. We got a lot of central midfielders in the academy that look talented. Dyer, Kieran Dyer, KiiND Dyer. So there's others. There was once Charlie Webster. There was once Josh McEachran. There was once Lewis Baker. We've been down this road before. We've got a lot of midfielders. We've got a lot of quality in midfield. I'm not expecting to see our midfielders like that because of what we have, but that's why hopefully them being this young gives them loads of time to prove themselves. At least if they go, there's buybacks. If one of our big names don't work out, then obviously then we have a monopoly on the market, and we can start plucking and picking people and seeing what we're saying. We was even interested in Adam Walton, but when he was at Blackburn, I remember that link. And then he obviously goes to Crystal Palace, and now he's one of the most probably sought after young midfielders in the Premier League in the coming summers with Baleba. So, when it comes to midfield, we seem to know how to scout our midfielders very, very well round here. I must say, I've always loved our midfielders. Obviously, Lavia is unfortunate because he's injured, but when he was fit, when he played the handful of minutes he did, there's no question on the talent. There's no question why we purchased him. He's clearly quality. There's no doubt. So I love our midfield. Whatever way it's shaped, whatever way it works out, whoever loses and wins, I'm pretty happy. You can't really go wrong in that midfield. I even think Leslie Okachukwu's got talent, but now he's at Burnley. Let him go and showcase what he can do. But can't go wrong. If you F up the midfield from now for the next 3, 4, 5 years, it's impossible. It's actually impossible to mess that up. There's too much quality, too much options. How can you get that wrong? It's not possible. So that's the one part of the team I've never had any real worries or concerns about under this ownership since they started bringing in Enzo, since they started, bringing in Caicedo and Lavia, and that was a crazy transfer window and whatnot. I have just no worries in the midfield. I think our midfield is right up there with the best in the world. I'm just really waiting for them to just demonstrate it in the Champions League against the very best, as they did against PSG. Big ups from Aussie, from Australia. Philip, big up to you, Gittins, as a temporary 9. Personally, I don't want to be playing Gittins as a 9. I don't want to be playing players out of position, especially when they're new to the football club, especially when they're new to the league and the country. No, the country is nothing. He's English. But he's new to the league and he's new to the team. Do I now want to play you out of position? Absolutely not. I'm setting you up to fail. I'm not trying to do that. Also, I don't think he's the type of player that would work at the 9 anyway. He's just not that type of winger that I would say, oh, you can now move up front. If I think of a false 9 winger, I think more in the mold of a Sancho, someone like that. I wouldn't even want Sancho as a false 9, but someone more in that make, in that build, where your passing's on point, your awareness of what's around you in tight spaces on point. Just those type of attributes I'm looking for if you're going to play false 9. I'm not looking at Gittins. Gittins is a touchline winger, 1v1, kill him, burn him, pace, power, let's go. I'm not trying to see him up front personally. I didn't hear anything about Garnacho in the presser, so I can't confirm if he's available because I just assumed he was. I didn't hear he was injured, so that's, I assume he's available to play. I just think he'll start from the bench. But, maybe Cucurella will be rested. Maybe. You know, he plays for Spain frequently. He'll play both those games next week. If we want to look after Cucurella, is Brentford away the time to bring in Hato? Because he's been with Maresca the whole international break, I think. So it's a shout. It's a shout. And looking past that, you know, Bayern, like I said, I'm not afraid of Bayern. I'm thinking about winning against Bayern Munich. It'll be tough. It'll be great. I can't wait. I can't wait for next week's Bayern Munich watch along with you guys. We can hear the anthem. We can see the lineups. We can see the top players that we're going up against. Yeah, when you're in the knockouts, you cheer and you clap for easier draws, but there is really nothing better than a big game. There is really nothing better than jeopardy and high stakes and nerves and goosebumps. You know, it's what the sport's about. The best playing the best. When you're up against a team like Bayern Munich, who have got top players like that, is an opportunity for Tosin and Chalobah to go up against Harry Kane. Some of you may shit yourselves. Some of you may piss down your legs and say, damn, I don't really want to see that. I don't want to see Harry Kane up against. Yes, unfortunately, they must play against Harry Kane. One of the best playmaking strikers I've seen since I've watched football. He's that good. His passing, his weight of pass, his awareness, his through balls, he's that good. He's the kind of guy that Sir Alex Ferguson signs and they win a Premier League title. It's a Van Persie 2.0. He's the kind of guy that does stack up Premier League titles because he does guarantee you 20 to 25, 25 to 30 Premier League goals a season. He's world class. He's undisputedly world class. We can take the piss about the trophies and the unluckiness and whatever. He is a bona fide world class striker. And we're going to be going up against him next week with our not so world class centre backs. But I'm still looking forward to seeing how they do because I think they're good players. And I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. I'm very much ready for it. And it's the league phase. It seems like, you know, yes, although it's not the easiest start, you should be going through Chelsea. There's no real... I'm not worried about our chances of going through that league phase. There's way too many slots open. There's way too many slots open. I'm not stressed about that, I'll be real. Where we place and where we finish, it may not even matter. Depending on where others place and finish, you may still get a decent draw, even if you finish in lower parts of that. So it's an interesting format. Is it... I don't know. I don't know if it's more difficult or easier. I'm going to find out the hard way, obviously, you know, when we actually play. Last season we were spectators, but I'm not really too fussed. Conference League, it would have been easy any format. So my chest tightens anytime I hear Rio. That is crazy. Company going to play the high line. Hopefully Upamecano Bozo moment. That's what I'm looking for. I heard he was very good last season, but I'm looking for the Bozo moment there. Neuer, someone pointed out, I think it was Javon, you know. Neuer, we played him in the Champions League final in 2012 in Allianz Arena. We're now playing Neuer again in 2025 at the Allianz Arena. How crazy the world works. Didier Drogba slotting that penalty, sending him the wrong way, and here we are today. Same goalkeeper, same stadium. It's crazy how long a player can play for. I feel like that was, more than over a decade ago, 2 decades ago. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see what's going on. Elise, best right winger in the world, football for me. I mean, he's certainly top 3. Obviously, Saka's there, Salah's there. I mean, Kvaratskhelia is not really a right winger, but he does sometimes play over there. He's obviously he had an incredible second half of the season for PSG there. Dembele's not a right winger anymore. He plays up front. There's a few others, I'm sure, but he's, boy, is he up there. Yamal, of course. So maybe top 5. But I said it, man. There's players in the past that I've gone crazy for. There's players in the past I've gone crazy for, like Tchouaméni. I remember when we was under Roman and Marino was looking at Saul Niguez. We needed a DM from Monaco. We left it a year later. He went to Real Madrid. Obviously, right now, maybe you'll say, whatever, not that deep. But I think at Chelsea, things could have maybe panned out differently for him. I think he was a great player. I definitely went crazy for Caicedo. I said, transformative signing, even though it was overpriced in the end. I said, still get that deal done. Enzo Fernandez, we were going ballistic on deadline day. There's certain players that you do go ballistic for. Elise was right up there for me as well. But now that we have Esteval, hopefully, that will be the person that really makes us just completely put that to the side. And Quenda, I must say Quenda, I've not watched full 90s of Quenda. I've just seen highlights and little clips and whatnot, but his passing is really looking good. His passing is really looking good. I need to catch a proper game of him, but his passing, when you see wingers, when you get dribbling and you get bravery on the ball and you get pace and you get speed and these are all things I expect to see in a young, talented, up-and-coming, exciting winger. If you don't have good dribbling, speed, and bravery on the ball, you're not really a winger. But the guy's passing, whether it's the reverse pass, it's the vision, it's the awareness of what's around him, it's the decision-making, the selections that he's making, it looks good. And that's why Elise stands out, is because he is a great passer, because he can do those things as well. So, it's early days, but if he passes the way in the clips I'm seeing, then that's a very encouraging sign. It's a very encouraging sign. You can't go wrong with a good wide playmaker, I'll be honest. That's why we love Cole Palmer out there, Let's see. Big up Matt and the chat. Do you think Joao, Pedro, Esteval, Palmer, Santos, Caicedo are all starting tomorrow? Injuries, fatigue look to already be an issue. Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to pick one or two of these South American midfielders that have flown back late. You've got Enzo Fernandez, you've got Andre Santos, you've got Caicedo. Joao Pedro is definitely playing. I don't think Cole Palmer's playing from the start. So you've got to pick one of these South American midfielders. And also now, Isigo is injured. And he's out for 12 weeks. And then Lavia's just nowhere to be seen. So suddenly, the guys that you would have called upon in said situation where you find yourself with people coming back late, was Enzo not on international break? Apologies if I got that incorrect. But then Enzo obviously starts. But yeah, you've got to pick one of those guys. You've got to pick one of those guys. I think Enzo was on international break. Are you sure he wasn't? I'm sure he was. He didn't travel? Oh, okay. Okay. So yeah, you got to pick one of the other guys. Yeah, you got the red card. I remember you guys, saying that before the break, red card. And I think, is Caicedo suspended for the next break? I'm pretty sure I saw that he's potentially suspended for a game in the next break. So hopefully then he doesn't get called up. And then we're laughing. So he misses the next break. That'll be fantastic. Keep getting suspended. Keep picking up red cards, whatever it, get yourself suspended. Yes. Keep doing that. Because we got serious fixtures. I ain't got time for you, man, to be traveling halfway across the world. Jet lag. Pick up a little knock and an injury here in some combative South American fixture. Please, stay home. You have family, wife, kids. Cucurea, eat paella, all these things. Stay home. Stay home. Look after yourself. So, yeah, that's fantastic then. If he doesn't, I don't know, if they've got 2 games and he's missing one, is he going to still get called up for the other game? Hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he doesn't get called up. Hopefully he doesn't get called up. But yeah, look, yes, second part of what you've said. Injuries and fatigue is going to be a bigger issue this season. That's why I was concerned about the way that we finalized and finished the window in terms of depth, in terms of certain profiles, options, but it is what it is. It's done now. Not only because the games are more intense in the Champions League in comparison to the Conference League, so they're going to exert more energy. They're going to need more recovery. They are going to forget the physical toll. The mental toll of playing in the Champions League versus playing in the Conference League is going to show. Like, it is far more pressurized. It is far more jeopardy, stakes, etc. You saw Chelsea last season, how many times 0-0 at halftime in a Conference League game, and yes, we're not impressed. Yes, we're a bit bored on the watch along, but we always said at halftime, Chelsea are going to win this game. Chelsea are going to win this game. And at this point, it's happening so frequently. Are Chelsea playing like this on purpose in first gear? Because they know that they don't need to try too hard to win this football match, and they're just saving themselves for the Premier League. And then what happens in the second half? Chelsea go up a couple of gears, not even a couple of gears. They go up one gear. They go up one gear and they win the game comfortably and they batter the opposition team, because that opposition team misses chances when they get attacks. Their shooting is going into row Z. They're hitting innocent civilians and they're causing injuries, quite frankly. That won't happen in the Champions League. You give people some of the chances we gave Copenhagen in the Champions League, they will put them in the back of the net. So mentally, as well as physically, it is going to be more draining, more taxing. And that is why mentally you have to prepare for more injuries. You have to prepare for more rotations against your will. Now, that's what the squad's for. That's what the squad's for. On top of the fact that we had a Club World Cup. And Man City, I don't know if it was true. They were trying to get games moved and postponed because they was in the Club World Cup. Brothers, you went out early in comparison to us. We went all the way to the final. And to be honest, that Benfica situation with the lightning bolts, that basically counts as 2 matches. It does. Certain man left streams. I did. Certain man left the stadium. Certain man, it was 2 games. So we played more games than anyone else just because of that game, So I really don't want to hear their fatigue issues, but look, everybody's having issues. Look at the injuries. And this is why I have such a we must go to war mentality, because we don't know, and touch wood, we don't want injuries. We don't pray on injuries. We don't hope for injuries, but we don't know the state of everybody's squads next month, the month after, because everybody's going to get injuries. Everybody's going to have weak points and problems. And I want to be there to capitalize if said issues come up, even with our issues that we have. Look at Man City. Look at the amount of injuries they have. Cherky's out. Mamouche is out. Now we're talking, are they even going to beat Manchester United? Then they've got to go and play Arsenal the following week. We could be, if I even take a look at this Premier League table, how many points clear could we be of Manchester City come next week if we were to beat Manchester United at Old Trafford, which really we should be favourites for, and we should, if we're serious, I know the record and whatnot, but we should be trying to do that. And if you beat Man United, you can say that it makes up for not beating Palace, because we never go to Old Trafford and win, so it kind of levels itself out in my head anyway. But we're already, 4 points clear of Man City. We could easily be 7. Not saying they're going to lose both the games, but we could easily be 7 or 8 points clear, 7 or 9 points clear. So you just want to capitalize. That's all. You just want to capitalize. Any more Chelsea Avengers content incoming? No, there is not. I will not lie. There is not. Listen, that is a very rare scenario and situation. It has never happened in the 5 years I've been doing YouTube. I think the 5 years is actually coming up in October, so we're going to have a nice anniversary stream. Because no one's not near to nobody. And on top of that, even then, the schedules are crazy. That was very fluky that we managed to even get that sorted, because everybody's schedules are all over the place. But we managed to make it happen. And even then, people were saying, where's this person, this person, this person? First of all, there's only 6 seats. There's only 6 mics. You know how hard it is to find a podcast studio that can do 8 people, 10 people? And like I said, schedules, so some people could have made it if we done it a different day, but then these people wouldn't have been able to make it. So we really did the best we could. But is that going to be a regular thing? Absolutely not. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. However, shout out to George and Eunice, because they obviously got their channel, and you may have seen the announcement. George is in Dubai and they've got a pod, and they're linking up on a regular basis. So that's great to see. I'm a big fan of collaboration where it can happen, and that is somewhere you can see it's going to happen in person. It's going to look sick. So, but is that a realistic thing? No, it's not. Not going to be on a regular basis. If everybody is in London again and the flights are all aligned and everybody visits the same time, I'll try and hook it up again. But boy, don't. And me, I wouldn't relegate it to a stream thing. I know you guys, just do it on the stream. It's not the same. It's not the same. It's better in person. Banter's way better, flow's better, way more fun, and it's more of a rarity, special. Do that every week on stream, boy. Nah, it's not the same. Not for me. So, yeah, for me, I'd love to do that as often as possible. It's sick. It was so fun. But yeah, it's tough, man. Everyone's busy. You know, Joey does the boxing. You know what I mean? He's always punching man in the face. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough, man. But we try again next time. Maybe we get Lewis in, or you know what I mean? We try and see what we can do. Why are you concerned for having a Club World Cup coach step up? I don't know what you mean by that, Assad. I mean, most of the time you say something, I don't know what you mean by that, because you sometimes just be playing with me. But yeah. I wouldn't say mastermind, no, behind it. I mean, listen, Eunice hit me up. He said, yo, George is coming to town. I started calculating with him. I said, yo, it's a lot of man in London at the same time. And obviously, you know, we knew this. I already knew the studio for Big Six was there, certified, could do a job, and just booked it. But it's not difficult to do when everybody's there. Make the group chat, get it done. Sick, absolutely sick. Everybody showed up. It was good, man. Yeah, I mean, look, as a viewer, you would like to have Johnny on one. You're not gonna have that. I'll be real. Not everything I can bring. I'm not Santa Claus. I can't just bring any gift you ask for. There's a budget. It's not even about a budget. It's about, I only work with people that don't personally insult me. I think that's a fair line to draw, personally. You know, I don't really care if you're a fan of Chelsea or you're a fan of any club. If I don't actually like you, because I feel like you've personally insulted me many multiple times, I'll just not work with you. It's pretty standard. So it's a shame, because it's nothing to do with opinions. It's nothing to do with anything like that. You know me. You know, when Nini said, you know, Garnacho on the table, and I think on his or one of the shows, it's Garnacho, yeah, it could be a decent signing. I said, hey, I'm not happy with that signing if that happens. I don't really care about all that. For me, the more debate, the more different opinions, the better. Because I know for you guys, you're getting a wide variety of talk. So I just know that's better content anyway. And also, I'm more than happy for that. But it's not even just about me. That's how most people react to people disrespecting them online and taking it to that point where you're dissing man personally. They're just not going to want to speak to you in person. Why would I put myself in a position to meet up with someone in person that I don't like for reasons that they have caused? You don't see me disrespecting them personally or talking about them constantly. You just don't see me, because I don't do that. I don't speak about other YouTubers and content creators. I speak about what I'm here to talk about, which is football. So, sorry, but it ain't my problem. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, that's what happens. So it's unlucky. Let's see. So where were we? We got Brentford, we got Bayern, we got United. I'll probably link up with Saeed next week. I don't know what to say about Man United, man, because you know me, chat. I would love it if we beat them. I would love it. But the record is the record. And how many more times am I going to be burnt? How many times am I going to put my chest out and say, we're going to beat these fools because they're just not a good team, because they just have too many imbalances, because they're not set up right by the manager, etc., etc., etc. And how many times is that going to get thrown back in my face? I don't know. But I'm willing to go again. Because we're going to war, baby. We're going to beat Manchester United. Why? For more reasons than you can believe. First of all, if that goalkeeper has not been changed by that game, if Bayern Deer is still in goal, I don't give a damn. I'm sorry. If we're not beating a team with Bayern Deer in goal, there's problems. There's got to be problems, because at that point now, you're telling me that we couldn't even... We've been scoring set pieces this season. We are actually set piece FC potentially. Well, no, we're not, because we score in open play too, unlike others. But you know what I'm saying. We got to put pressure on that man. And obviously, last time we played Manchester United, Van Nistelrooy came into the job. And that maybe changed the vibe or the atmosphere or whatever. I don't know what it done. Some voodoo thing on the stadium. But if Almerim's still there, that man's still under pressure. And that man is still he's still really rigid in how he wants to play, which is his system, that 3-4-3, that doesn't particularly potentially suit those central midfielders that he has at his disposal. I don't know if KiiND will be back for that game. I think that's a big loss. We'll see how they do against Manchester City on Sunday. We'll be doing it for the mob for the Big Six. But for me, you got to go up there and you got to believe that you can beat them. At the end of the day, when we talk about records, we have to remember those records are set with multiple and many different managers, with multiple and many different sets of players. We are the only constant. In fact, this is even stretching over different ownerships. We are the only constant. We are the only ones that have been here for this whole time. So we're the only ones that are scarred. I don't expect the players to be scarred. I don't expect the manager to be scarred. I don't expect anyone on that pitch playing for Chelsea to be scarred or to be thinking about all of those failings over the years because you weren't even there. Some of you may not even be born. So there is really no reason for us to be carrying this into this game apart from the fact that it's PTSD. So for me, I'm going in with the same mentality that I always do with them being as bad as they are, which is we need to go up there and beat them. Especially when you got Joao, Pedro, and hopefully Cole Palmer back. There's no reason why not. But it's the stadium. It's Old Trafford. I don't know. It's the pitch. It's the seats. It's the leaky roof. Maybe when the roof leaks and the driplets drop onto man's forehead, it's distracting. I don't know how many times we've run on goal and the droplets have hit man's in the eye and then suddenly the finishing is not on point because it's like Ashley Young when he got bird shit in his tongue. I don't know. I don't know the reasons. I'm trying to think. Was it raining when we played up there? We mustn't forget it was raining. I don't know. I don't know. But I do trust us to go up there and change the status quo. There's been loads of records that have been broken over the last few years at Old Trafford. Man United fans, as you know. So why not us? Why not, if Fulham could go up there and break whatever record they broke and others as well, why not us? So look, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, we're getting further and further away from the present day. That's what this stream is about. We got to see what the team is after buying, who's available. Hopefully, we haven't taken any more hits, and then after that, we move to Manchester United. But I don't know how we approach that game in regards to how should we play, because when we dominate the ball over there, we know we potentially play into their hands to come and transition and counter us, and that feeds into their strengths and hopefully for them it does shield their weaknesses. So I don't know whether we should actually start to say when we go to Old Trafford, maybe we don't have as much as possession as we can, and we just sit ourselves in a mid block and say, do you know what, you're at home, you come on to us. But then are we playing to our strengths? Depending on who plays in that attack, maybe we are, maybe we're not. I would probably start Garnacho that game just for the chaos. Because if Garnacho scores, or forget it, if he scores the winner, and I don't know if he'd celebrate, but if you want to win over the Chelsea fans, Alejandro Garnacho, if you want to win over the Chelsea fans that are not really too sure about you or didn't really want you signed, including myself, you go score at Old Trafford. You go top that off with a winner at Old Trafford. You go top that off with sitting on the advertising hoarding, as you did at the bridge, with the same celebration with the hands on the hip. And I'm telling you right now, I will go and buy a Garnacho Chelsea shirt. If you do those three things, I will buy a Garnacho shirt. I will hold it like it is Messi holding his own shirt, and I will announce it. I will announce my allegiance. That's what I need. I love a story. That would be absolutely insanity if he did all of those things. Can you imagine the head loss for them? And forget that. Can you imagine the limbs for us if he did that at Old Trafford against the manager that basically publicly told him he's leaving Manchester United? Because that's where this all stems from as to why he's not in the Manchester United team anymore, is basically because the Manchester United manager said your future is not here for whatever reason, many multitude of reasons. So that is an opportunity to clap back at him and potentially get him sacked. You could do the whole hands up thing if you want. I have no qualms, no queries if you do. I fully expect you to do it. Brother, should I even... Nah, let me not do it, because who knows if the camera will turn. You know, man will just stand up. Sorry for scoring. Apologies for scoring a goal. You can do that. I ain't going to say a word if you do. I get it. I know you're going to do it anyway. But you could swoo. You could swoo if you want. You could ISO speed this bitch and swoo in the corner flag. There's nobody stopping you, big man. Go swoo. You know, go and do up the Ronaldo celebration at Old Trafford. This is what your legend would have wanted. This is what your icon, your leader would have wanted. No? Go and do it. It's up to him. First of all, he's got to start. Second of all, he's got to actually go and score. Third of all, then we can get. So we're jumping the gun a little bit. But I'm just saying these things because I know Z's in the chat absolutely shitting the bricks if that all happens. And he will never be seen in my chat again because Z's a very moments man. He shows up when he's in a good mood, and when Man United have done a madness and he knows I'm going to call him out, he's nowhere to be found. So let that happen, and you will never see Z in this chat again. And and there's someone else, his running mate, his tag team partner. I don't know where he is as well. There's someone else that's usually frequently in here, but I can't remember. I can't remember his name now because he's been gone for a while, and I don't know where he's gone. So that's Manchester United, right? It's big game. And like I said, I'll do something with Saeed, some sort of content. I head up to Manchester last season, and I invited myself into his house, as you saw, and I said a lot, and then it was a dead 0-0, and then yeah. All the hype and absolutely no outcome. And I'm there to do it again, you know. So I'll be up to Manchester and you'll see when that content drops. That will be my first preview of the season. Let's move on to the next game after that. And also in that game, I wouldn't be against not playing Esteval, and potentially in a game like Manchester United away, you need your lieutenants. So you're getting in your Neto on the right. You're getting in maybe a Garnacho start on the left. You're asking them guys to do their due diligence. The Premier League proven experienced man that have been there and done it day in, day out, etc. You're going more in that direction. I would understand it. But Reece James has to play that game. Cucurella has to play that game. All the guys have to play that game. And maybe you have Esteval as your secret weapon on the bench. Palmer has to hopefully play that game. Lincoln City is Lincoln City. It really just depends on who's available. It really just depends on injuries. It just depends on who Maresca is most impressed by. It seems like it's Reggie Walsh. It seems like Reggie Walsh is going to play that game. I just want to... Look, I don't want a Grimsby situation. Lincoln City are currently in League One and sitting in a healthy 8th place. So I'm not trying to take the piss here. But if you can't rotate against Lincoln City, then who can you rotate against? So that is when I'm expecting Buonate to play. That is when I'm expecting potentially Guy, actually expecting, Guy to start because he really does need to play. And then maybe there's a few academy guys on the bench. Maybe probably Gittins because he's less Premier League proven. So he's less Premier League minutes under his belt. So he probably plays and whatever have you will. Hopefully Lavia's back. He can probably play, get some minutes in the tank. Badia Shill can play. The backup keeper can play. Hato can play. Achampong can play, etc. So I'm, Oh, Guy's cup tied. This club. I told you that on deadline day. Now you're telling me. You see how this goes? Oh my God. This brother can only be thrown in the deep end. Guy can only be thrown in the deep end. He cannot be eased in. He cannot be played in a lesser game to then get your confidence. Brother, whenever you play, you will be thrown into the deep end more than you can believe. Because even if you're coming off the bench Unless we're winning 3 or 2-0 and you're just coming on to press and stretch defenses, which is probably the ideal situation. You're coming into a Premier League game. Fair. I forgot. So that means our brother in the academy can come in. That's fine. I don't mind that whatsoever, that he can come and play that game, because he's killing it in PL2. I think he got player of the month. But I'm just saying, for Gu, he could have done with something like that. But here's what it is. Bring in Shim. All right, so let's move on. Lincoln is Lincoln. There is no negotiation with Lincoln. Send me to the 4th round of the Carabao Cup. Now, Brighton, Benfica, and Liverpool is how we end this period of time before the October international break. The last time we played Liverpool at Stamford Bridge, we won. However, let's be very serious. They were on the piss. They had won the Premier League. They were drunken skunks, and they really weren't mentally even there. So that's not a fair representation of what we're up against on that day there. Brighton and Benfica are W's for me. I'll be real. Brighton is non-negotiable with all of the dealings and the players that we've signed from them and what happened last season, back-to-back away games, kicking us out the cup. There is no conversation to be had. I think we beat them at home, and that was a great game. Of course, I think Cole Palmer did a madness. You do it again. Benfica at home, you got to win, right? Because we know that we have to play Barcelona as well in this league phase. So Benfica is one of those ones you want to get some points in the bag. That Liverpool game at home, Brighton's at home, because we have 4 away games on the trot. Now, they've been very nice to us, considering we came back from the Club World Cup. We could have done with just staying as close to home as possible, which we have done by staying in London for the first 4 fixtures. Now it's starting to be a lot of travelling. 4 away games in a row. You know, Brentford, which is just down the road anyway, so we're still getting life there. Munich, Bayern Munich, Manchester United, Lincoln. Brighton at home, which is fine, and Liverpool at home. So back-to-back home Premier League games. Liverpool at home is, depending on the previous Premier League results, I would like to go into that game with a minimum of 7 points out of 9, which means you beat Brentford tomorrow, you draw with Manchester United, worst case, because I'm just taking into account the record, and you beat Brighton. So you're involved, you're in the mix at that point. You're still up there in the higher echelons of the table. Liverpool at that point could be further ahead. And Liverpool are the Premier League favourites. So that is really the yardstick. That is the measurement that you're looking at. You're looking at, where is Liverpool? How far are you behind Liverpool? There is no other team to measure us against right now. I don't care how many points we're ahead or behind Arsenal. I don't care how many points we're ahead or behind of Manchester City. Of course, we want to finish as high up the table as possible. But in this early part of the season, I'm still thinking title race. Because I know thinking title race is either going to lead to one or 2 things, or one of 3 things. 1, we win the title. 2, we fall short, but we comfortably get top 4, which is exactly what we have to do. And we get a significant improvement on the points tally, which is progress. And 3, we show progression, and we just show that we're, next season, there is only one place to go, which is another progression. And that means you go and win the damn thing. So that's what I'm looking at. And I think for Liverpool at home, if you are in that position where you're within a game or just 4 points off, say, something like that, that's a great opportunity to lay down a marker. If we're talking about putting down statements, this period before the October break, we have 3 times we can make a statement. That is really, really appetizing and fun to think about, chat. There's 3 statements we can make. Manchester United away, statement. To a degree. Statement more for us, not necessarily for the wider footballing world because of who Manchester United are at this current moment. But that you go and win at Old Trafford, I think that's a statement in the Chelsea fan base because we know what it is. Bayern Munich away is a statement. And Liverpool at home is the biggest statement, in my opinion. Man United are a poor team. Or they're not as good as they were. They're capped with that manager and potentially certain individuals in the 11 and whatever. Bayern Munich away is Champions League, knockout. That's our bread and butter, our heritage. we are we are disruption. We are disturbers. We go to places we shouldn't go to and get results. Everybody thinks we're losing to City in the final. We beat them. Everybody thinks we're losing to Bayern Munich in their backyard. We beat them. Everybody thinks we're losing to PSG. We beat them. Everybody thinks we're going out in Barcelona 2012 semi-final. We go through. And the list goes on and on and on. So there is a bit of heritage in there, even though it's a massive statement. I think Liverpool at home against the Premier League champions who have just broken the British record twice. Don't let any outlet tell you otherwise. Florian Wirtz was only 100 million and his 16 million add-ons. Shut up, Shanice. Shut up, Shanice. It's a British world record. It's a British world record. It's a British transfer record. It's a British world record. That's how big it is. It's a British transfer record twice. They're the favourites. They're the champions. They've got 2 strikers that I really would have bitten off everyone's hands to get, because I just would have had Joao Pedro plus that person. I would have had Palmer on the right, Esteval given the reins to be a squad player, Joao Pedro in the 10, which is what I thought he'd be when we signed him in my video, when we spoke about this, how I feel about Joao Pedro as an Nkunku replacement, which is where he played the last 2 games, and then Ekitike or Isak up front. Can you imagine that, chat? If it was Isak or Ekitike up front, if you now suddenly maybe rate him now that you've seen him at the Premier League, I wanted him as a Jackson replacement. Delap would be on the bench for me, behind Ekitike, especially for what we come up against most of the time. But that's neither here or there. It wasn't a must for you. Okay. I don't even know what that left-hand side is. I don't even know if I even care. You have me the strikers. You give me Isak up front. Because forget Ekitike. Let's just talk about Isak. You give me Isak up front, and we know when Isak became available, basically everybody on X, everybody on Instagram suddenly said, we can have 3 strikers. Send Delap to Strasbourg, CB said. Big up CB. Man, them were saying, Delap, send him to Strasbourg. Loan him out when they heard Isak was available. You put Isak spearheading this team with Joao Pedro and Palmer on the right, it's peak. It's peak. So, you know, that's what we're up against. I don't even know how they even make the 11 work. We'll see against Burnley. Well, maybe we'll see the game after, because Isak probably won't start anyway. But it's going to be very interesting. That is a big moment. And I'm excited for Brentford, I'm excited for Brighton, but I'm excited for the big games, because the big games are opportunities to make statements and to really see what we're about, what this team is capable of. And we've shown we can beat the best team in Europe. So why should we go into any of these games scared, not aiming to win? I'm not looking for a draw at home to Liverpool. This is where if I was on Twitch and I was cussing out, I'd play the explosion sound on my thing, but I don't have it. I don't have that. Maybe I need to get that. Maybe I need to press the explosion button more often. I am not going into that game at home to Liverpool thinking about a draw. Now, some of you are confused. Welcome to a title race. In a title race, unless you're away from home to a top team in their peak, that is the only instance I will take a draw. So I'm not putting Manchester United in that bucket. I'm only putting Liverpool and Arsenal in that bucket right now. Even Manchester City, with all of their frailties, all of their weaknesses that they're showing, I am in 2 minds about them. But we'll see when we play them at the Etihad how I feel. Now, I'm being reasonable in the respect of, if we draw, I'm not saying it's a bad result. Absolutely not. I'm not saying if we draw at home to Liverpool, it's a bad result. Absolutely not. If we're being realistic in terms of, but I'm saying mentally, mindset-wise, I'm trying to win that game. At home, if you're in a title race and you're at home to your title rival, that needs to be a win, because you need to take 3 points for yourself. You need to take 3 points off of them, and you also need to put a mental, You need to put a mental, you need to mentally tell them with that win what you're about, and the levels that have been set in that fixture. You need to make it abundantly clear what the message is. That is your opportunity to send a message. You don't send a message with a draw at home to a title rival. You just don't. You don't send a message. The only way you send a message is by beating them. So that should be the aim, because we're capable of beating anyone at home. That is how I feel. We're at home. We need to make that a fortress. It hasn't been a fortress for years, but in the recent run of fixtures, our form is very good. We need to make Stamford Bridge a fortress. Teams used to come to Stamford Bridge and know what time it was. They used to know what time it was. We need to get back to that. We have not, is it not the longest record at home unbeaten under Jose Mourinho? We need to get back to the home record being spotless. Absolutely spotless. Now, we've already a little bit behind schedule with Crystal Palace. It happens. But and that, when I say beat Liverpool, it doesn't mean that you need to beat them in regards to dominating the game. If you are the second best team, but you still find a way to beat them, that's no problem. If you get the goal on a counter-attack because you soaked up all the pressure and they got really frustrated against the low block, that's no problem. If you had to man mark a Florian Wirtz out the game with a Caicedo, and then he got hooked after 60, no problem. When I say beat someone, it doesn't mean that you have to beat them in a certain way, or you just have to do it. You just have to do the job. So, look, we'll see where we are when we get to that. That's the final fixture that really is relevant to what this is about today. But that's the mentality. And I think this is the mentality we should have. You know, I know we've had a rough few years, but this team and the way that they've spoken publicly in a certain way with a certain tone that tells me that if I don't reciprocate that now, what is the point? What is the point in not reciprocating the chat that is being spoken by the players? What is the point? They can't be more confident than me. It's not possible. It's not possible for them to be more confident than me. No way. Especially when the evidence supports that. Forget the transfers. We are playing in a run of wins since Fulham that stretches back all the way to what? Last March, April? It's just pure W's and a couple drop points here and there, with plenty of context as to why we drop points in those specific instances. There's no reason right now why we should not be pumped. We lead in all metrics, underlying statistics. We're looking good again. We were looking good last season for chances created, big chances created, goals conceded. Like, we're not lying. We're not cheating. Are we cheating? We're cheating with a 74. But we're not cheating in terms of the statistics. Like, we are not overperforming what we should be doing. It's not like we're not scamming our way. No, we are what we are recently. That's what we're doing. So until they showcase otherwise, or they, hopefully they don't, but until they have that crazy blip that happens usually at winter period, until it gets to Christmas, I have no reason to be nervous. That's basically what I'm saying. And I feel like that should be what we're on. Why are we nervous unless it's December? It ain't December yet. When it gets to December, trust me, it's different. December is a dark month. Boss calls are made in December. I don't know who makes these calls, but in December, boss calls are made and things happen that I cannot explain. But it's not December. It's September. And then it's October, and then it's November. We have plenty of room, plenty of time to enjoy. So let's do that. Let's handle business. Let's handle business. Because as much as we have injuries, they have injuries. As much as we have faults, they have faults. We really just have to look at it like that. I don't need this team to be perfect to be pushing for majors. Now, I would love it if it was perfect and it had, certain things in certain areas, but there is enough there to do something. And that is mainly down to Joao Pedro. I think if Joao Pedro wasn't playing the way he's playing, and he hadn't started the way he started, and he hadn't looked so much like a Chelsea player to the point where it looks like he's been playing with us for years. If we didn't have that version of him right now and we had something else, then my feelings would be probably very different, because the attack would now be very unpredictable in a bad way, or I'd be over-relying on someone I shouldn't. But because he's experienced in the Premier League, because he's at that age where you can actually say, here's the keys, and he's playing like it, then boy, you know, why not have trust in the guy? I can't even call him a kid. He's not a kid. He's a grown-ass Brazilian number 9 international. Man wants to be leading Brazil out at the World Cup. That's what he's on. You know, so it's levels. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's actually see what's going on with the poll. 67% Gue in favor of Gue against Brentford. I understand that. He's worked with the manager maybe longer. And I also really advocate for Joao Pedro in the 10, I think, at the moment. Just because I want someone working that back line, and I want Joao Pedro to then... Look, if Gue... And Delap was already doing this, but if Gue is purely there to ruffle feathers, make runs, keep people busy, and be a decoy, that is actually a really good situation, because now you're doing the donkey work. You are doing the donkey work. You're doing the pressing, you're making the runs, you are keeping people occupied and busy, and you are creating space for someone that is better than you. You are creating space for someone that is technically more gifted, someone that can do more with the football. That is exactly what Delap is doing for Pedro. That is exactly what I would like you to do for Pedro. Now, if you do get the ball, show me something. Absolutely. However, I'm not going to go drastically from I think this guy should go out on loan to a championship team so he can bag 20 plus goals and go and have a great time, to now Chelsea striker, you must do this, that, the third. The very least I need is donkey work. That's the bare minimum. If you give me that, we have fun. Because I know Joao Pedro will thrive with the space, with the extra options that he has. So the guy can pass, the guy can carry, the guy can receive, the guy has enough strength on him, he can do it. So let's do it. And then if you do more than ER, then brother, boy, if you do more than ER, then we're living. We're living. But I'm not asking for more than an ER. I'm not asking for more. Because I don't think it's fair. That's me. Some people look at it differently. I always said with the goalkeeper and the striker position, I want certified man in these positions. We can do the projecting thing all we like. We can do the projecting until the cows come home in other positions, because other positions, there's cover. Other positions, you can have your mess cleaned up. But when you're up front or you're in goal, you are directly responsible for the points tally in many moments, with missed chances or saves and decision-making in both positions, with how you shoot, if you shoot, when you shoot, how you save, if you collect that cross. So these are the two positions I don't do project. I've said this before. So because he is project, ER. And that's that. That's that, really. But let's see what the manager let's see what the manager chooses to do. Why is man calling me a troller? Why is man saying he's a troller? Just ignore him. I'm being serious. I don't understand why you're not taking me seriously. Do I not sound serious to you? Just because I add a little bit of humor in there doesn't mean you shouldn't take me seriously. On God, I'm being serious. Let me close the poll. So I actually agree with the poll. 68% said start him. Cool, start him. Obviously I have an issue with it because I want someone better starting, but both of them are risks. So, you know, you got to start one of them probably. So start him, because he's been here longer with Maresca, so it makes more sense. It makes more sense. And Garnacho and Gittins on the bench from the get-go. Neto and Esteval got to start for me. And if we're winning 3-4s or having the best day out ever at 8 o'clock under the lights at the G-Tech community, then absolutely you can take these man off the pitch early and we can start resting for Bayern Munich. But I cannot understate how important it is that we win this game against Brentford. I mean, we know the fixtures. 2 out of the next 4 is away at Old Trafford and at home to Liverpool. So there is no room for dropping points against Brentford. Not this version of Brentford. No. Not when they've lost. They've been decimated this summer. We can't be dropping points. Oh, you was on about someone else. Sorry, Julius. All right, we're gonna wrap soon. I didn't even realize an hour and a half. Obviously tomorrow the watch along is gonna start at 7 o'clock. Brentford away. I'll be keeping a close eye on the other games, the other fixtures and whatnot. But I am continuing to try and get this room completed, so I wouldn't be streaming during the day anyway, because there will be a builder, handyman, whatever you want to call it, in here helping me try and get more things done. So there isn't even the ability to stream. Sorry if my mic's quiet. I literally just could have turned that up. That's my bad. So yeah, final one standing. I have picked, big up for them for sponsoring. I have picked Liverpool to beat Burnley. I don't think I'm going to be making changes. You do have up until 12:30 p.m. before Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest to make a change if you're playing. And like I said on the integration, there's a 200k jackpot if you want to play. The link is in the description for that. Free to play, gamble responsibly, 18 and over, Ireland and UK only. So hopefully I'm through to the next round. I would like to pick Chelsea, but I'm not trying to be extra stressed on the watch-alongs right now. I have enough on my plate watching us, so I don't need double jeopardy. The last thing I'll say is Paul Canaville's foundation, which I am really happy to be a part of as a media partner. You may have seen announcements on social media. They are currently trying to raise money for the foundation through T-shirts, which I have one of. And there's a link in the description for that. I'm going to play you a clip from that announcement for the T-shirts. And then I will see you guys tomorrow at 7 o'clock p.m. UK time. Make sure you're there. It will redirect you anyway. You can set your reminders. And hopefully, God willing, the starting 11 is good. Because I don't need no stress. Well, we will be there an hour before to discuss the starting 11. Big up your damn selves in a bit, people. Peace.
I don't come here and sit here with confidence saying Chelsea's a huge part of my identity without a story like Paul's.
Carabao playing out wide on the left and involved early. Oh, what a start!
Paul Canaville's story is integral to the story of Chelsea. He was Chelsea's first black player. If it wasn't for Paul making his debut, there wouldn't have been the number of really successful black Chelsea players. Love Chelsea Hate Racism spun out of an initiative which was initially started by a gentleman called Malcolm Hurst. He saw certain things on the terraces and travelling home and away with England that he thought needed an initiative to kind of get behind.
Music is intrinsically connected to the football experience. It's why I really am passionate about telling stories, because I think that connection needs to be explored and celebrated more. People don't know that my first actual dream job was to be a goalkeeper, random.
Being able to meet Rhoda is incredible for me, and that music was great. So the Body Snatchers, there was always a real political message behind a lot of what they were singing. They did it through tunes, they did it through vibes, and they did it through good feelings. And that's kind of what we want to do through these T-shirts as well, which is tell a positive story of unity. So although we've got hate on the back, it's about hating racism. It's not about hating one another.
There was a big following at Chelsea who liked early reggae. That interest for me started. It was that music that really drove me, and I still love it. It still means an awful lot to me.
I think this project is really about celebrating the beautiful story. When I meet Paul, I see that beauty, man.
Diversity is in the history of the club, and so to have a T-shirt that says something that represents what you believe in is hugely important, and it's a way to connect with people